Thank you for joining us this morning. I am so happy and glad to be surrounded here today by business, community, and civic leaders. Everyone has seen footage coming out of Afghanistan and has felt moved by the plight facing its people. The Afghan citizens who put their own lives on the line to support the United States and its allies, the translators, the clerks, the contractors, the community leaders, are now looking for a plan to escape the Taliban and rebuild their lives. St. Louis is one of 19 locations currently being considered by the federal government for resettlement of Afghan citizens with special immigrant visas, or SIVs. This fits with our region's long history of welcoming immigrants and refugees, and we're ready to build on that powerful legacy by welcoming at least 1,000 Afghan citizens with SIVs. We are no stranger to welcoming survivors of war to our home. In the 1990s, St. Louis welcomed Bosnian refugees. These individuals and their families strengthened our region, enriching it with their culture and working hard to get ahead. I want St. Louis to be a community where everyone can thrive regardless of the color of their skin, who they love, how they worship. And after decades of loss, I want our city to grow again. And that means laying out the welcome mat for those who want to build a better life for themselves and their families here. I'm glad to have the leadership and the expertise of the International Institute, which helped thousands of Bosnian refugees resettle successfully here and can help Afghan citizens do the same. I'm thankful for our strong relationship with St. Louis County, which helps make efforts like this possible. And I'm proud that so many members of our business community, many of whom are here today, are ready to help welcome Afghan families as new Americans. We're ready to welcome Afghan citizens and their families to the gateway city with open arms and open hearts. And now I'll welcome Cora Faith Walker, who is the Chief Policy Director for St. Louis County. Cora.
Thank you. Good morning. St. Louis has a long history of welcoming refugees and immigrants to our region. Dr. Sam Page and St. Louis County leaders heard our community's call to help these Afghan citizens, and we're proud that we are being considered as one of 19 designated communities for special immigrant visa resettlements. These Afghan citizens fought bravely alongside the U.S. for the last 20 years, and St. Louis is ready to welcome these new neighbors who will bring skills, talent, and culture that will enrich our community. We're grateful to the International Institute of St. Louis for facilitating the resettlement, along with the broad and diverse public-private coalition that is building, as well as the partnership with the City of St. Louis. And we truly appreciate the outpouring of support from residents who've already reached out to offer their help. It's really inspiring. Now, we will continue to need your help as we move forward, not only with donations, but also to volunteer. We will share these calls to action with you as we prepare to make St. Louis the new home for these families who are seeking a better life as new Americans. Thank you, and I'll turn it over to Jason Hall.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Director Faith Walker, and welcome. The images we see on TV around the globe right now, we see a humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan, and it is heartbreaking. And our first thoughts are with the safety of our fellow American citizens that are on the front lines of this crisis and the well-being of the Afghan people. As leaders of the St. Louis business community, we support unambiguously the efforts to welcome to St. Louis the families being evacuated from Afghanistan through the Special Immigrant Visa Program. St. Louis is lucky to be home right here to this purpose-built institution, the International Institute, right here in St. Louis, that works every single day to bring refugees and help settle them into this community. And they have got a long and storied history. As you heard the mayor mention, the successful welcoming of the Bosnian community here through that humanitarian crisis did not happen accidentally. It happened because of the hard work of this institution. We welcomed and resettled more than 6,500 refugees and many more who migrated to St. Louis following that effort. And I think we can all agree that the Bosnian community has become an integral part of St. Louis's social fabric, due in large part to the hard work done by this institute. Let's also be clear. Immigrants make our community stronger. As we've seen with the Bosnian community and others, they start to build businesses and enrich our community culturally, globally, and in many other ways. We know the numbers. Foreign-born residents are 60% more likely to come to this country and start a new business. Entrepreneurship, this is Startup City. This is fuel to where we are going as a community. More broadly, 44% of the Fortune 500 companies in this country today were started by an immigrant or the child of an immigrant. They grow our economy and make us stronger. So if we want a growing St. Louis, and one produces more companies and more jobs, we must welcome these families with open arms. It's not only the right thing to do for those that supported our military men and women, but it's the smart thing to do for our economy. The St. Louis region has many job openings right now. The business community will be working with the International Institute to help assess, train, and bring these newcomers into our growing workforce. The people and families from Afghanistan should come to St. Louis with the knowledge that they will find a welcoming community that wants to see them thrive, succeed, and add to the fabric of our region. And let's also remember that supporting our military, that we are supporting our military by supporting and welcoming the Afghans who risked their own lives to support our U.S. military during the 20 years that we were in Afghanistan. Greater St. Louis, Inc. and the business community stands ready to help, and we will work with the International Institute, our public officials, and many other organizations and volunteers to welcome these families to our region. Thank you. Ari?
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the International Institute. Mayor Jones, Director Walker, our partners, Greater St. Louis, Inc., the Mosaic Project. Thank you all, our board members who are here present, friends of the International Institute, donors. Well, thank you all for being here today. The International Institute has for 102 years been welcoming and resettling immigrants in this community. Our mission is to build a more connected and productive society to benefit immigrants, their families, and the wider community, all with a vision to have a diverse, inclusive, and thriving community. Today we gather here bearing testimony to the opportunity that has been presented to us. As we speak, there are arrivals of Afghans already taking place, with just above 50 arrivals already within the community. And I highlight this to say it is not when, it's already arriving. We're already having arrivals. And our team here at the International Institute has been working to welcome those Afghans into this community. Obviously, with recent developments, we know that there's going to be a significant wave of arrivals coming our way. That's why on behalf of the International Institute, we would like to extend our gratitude to the community that has stood by us in the last week as we have called out for help and support in our efforts to be welcoming. We are only going to be as successful as the community that supports us. So we're deeply grateful to the efforts that have been made by our board of directors, by our partners within the community in the last 2 weeks as we have ramped up capacity to welcome the Afghans here. I just would like to highlight some facts and why St. Louis is a destination for that will welcome the Afghans here. Since 2010, we have worked to welcome 626 Afghans into the St. Louis community. Why is that important? Because that establishes the fact that there is already a community here that can welcome other Afghans who arrive here. So they are more likely to go to where they have ties already. So with an existing Afghan community here, St. Louis becomes an attractive location. Secondly, since 2018, we have already been welcoming Afghans with the special immigrant visas. Almost 300 of them have already been resettled in this region. And this year alone, we have resettled already 53 with special immigrant visas. So we have the capacity, one, we have the experience to welcome as many as 1,000 Afghans, depending on what the circumstances are. With that, once more, I just want to thank the community to say that we will continue to put out calls as needed, and we're looking forward to that support. Thank you very much for being here.
Good morning. On behalf of our members at the Regional Business Council, our hearts go out to the people of Afghanistan. We absolutely stand by our mayor and county executive and organizations like the International Institute to welcome our new neighbors. And we want to welcome them with friendship and most of all jobs so that they can start new lives and build new dreams and new futures here in America. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you, United States. Thank you, Missouri, and thank you, Honorable Mayor and St. Louisian, that you are welcoming Afghans out of the desperate in Afghanistan, that the situation went unexpected. I, as an Afghan that have or had experienced that dark regime, I just would like to, today I just would like to share one of my experience that I have spent under that dark regime. It was in 1996 or 1997, and I was a small boy, maybe 11 or 12-year-old. And one day when I was coming out of my English academy in the way to home, when I was, when I wanted to cross a checkpoint next to my house where I was living, the Taliban troops, or I can say members, they stopped me one day just because I had a book in my hand, and they put me on the on their checkpoint for maybe an hour or so, and I was a small kid. I was only crying and doing nothing, and they were just saying that why you have this book in your hand. So this is one of the experience that I shared with you today. So in order to tell you these stories, that how the dark regime is ruling on people. You may have seen the scenes in Kabul International Airport or near Kabul International Airport. So all those disparate people and the way that they have somehow committed suicide from falling, I mean, from the scene that they fall down from the airplane. That was an action that the people were that much disparate that instead of living under that dark regime, they choose to be, I mean, to die like that. So I would like to also read a poem, a Farsi poem. As my time is very short, I would go very fast on it. I will also say that in the English translation of that. So بنی آدم هزای یک دیگرن که در آفرینش زی یک گوهرن چه عوضی به درد آورد روزگار دیگر عوضها را نماند قرار تو که ز محنت دیگران بیغمی نشاید که نامت نهند آدمی. The English version is this: all human beings are members of one frame, since all at first from the same essence came. When time afflicts a lamp with pain, the other lamps at rest cannot remain. If two feel not for others' misery, a human being is no name for thee. So I just would like to thank once again the United States, government of United States, and the government of Missouri and the St. Louisian that they are welcoming Afghans with open arms. Thank you so much. I do appreciate it.
Morning. My name is Pete Lucier. I'm a law student at St. Louis University. I'm a Marine Corps veteran who deployed to Afghanistan in 2011. The first point I want to make today is that the SIVs, those coming here, those who are going to be coming to St. Louis shortly, America owes these people a debt for what they did for me, for my brothers and sisters who served in Afghanistan. Veterans specifically owe those coming here a debt for everything that they did for us. They patrolled alongside us. They sweated with us. When it came to it, they would grab weapons and shoot back at the enemy with us, and sometimes they died with us. And I personally owe these folks a debt. I had 2 interpreters who I worked with in Afghanistan, and they were some of the finest people I know. Our first one was named Jafar, and he spoke 7 different languages and English perfectly. He got taken away from us because he was too good. He had to go serve a colonel. They helped me when I was over there. So by welcoming these 1,000 refugees into our community, Mayor Jones and County Executive Page are helping me to repay that debt. They're helping my fellow veterans to repay that debt, and it's the first step towards America repaying its debt to these folks. It's been a hard week for me as I've watched the scenes that we've all seen unfold on television. These are places that I know. These are places that my friends know. These are the places where we fought and died for 20 years. It was hard. Many of my brothers and sisters reached out to me. The late night text messages that had slowed down in the previous years picked back up at an alarming rate. We had to check in on each other. It was a hard time. We didn't know how to process it. I myself was feeling despair. I didn't know what to do, so I knew I had to do something. And so I started raising money and trying to give it to organizations like the IISI or the IISTL to give back, to do something. As like I said, we owe them, and I appreciate everybody who's helping us give that back to them. The second point that I want to make is that I've seen some reactions to the news after it was announced from those here in the community. I'm from St. Louis. I'm a St. Louis native. I was born here and I went to high school here. And I just want to make really clear on behalf of veterans, and if not veterans, just myself, that attitudes of ignorance and prejudice won't be tolerated by people like me. These are our friends. They're coming here, fleeing their homes after they put their lives on their line and put a price on their heads for us and for people like me. And I just ask the St. Louis community to remember that as they come here. Treat them like my friend, treat them like Marines' friends, treat them like the military's friends. That's who they are. I couldn't be excited. Thanks to ISTL for having me here today, and thanks again to the mayor and the county executive.
Good morning. My name is Adnan Mirgic. I was a refugee, and this is my story. I came to the United States in 1999 from Bosnia, and since then called St. Louis my home. I was 13 years old and came here with my parents and a younger sister. It was a scary journey, but one thing that I will never forget was getting off the airplane and getting a whiff of that humid, middle of the July evening St. Louis air. A lot of us complain about the humidity, but for me on that specific day, humidity meant the next chapter in our lives was starting. Chapter without the gunfire and filled with the opportunity. First few months was struggle, but we adapted. I attended St. Louis public schools, and when it came to the college, I was at the crossroads. And actually, I wasn't. I wasn't able to choose from going out of state or going to the different universities. I had to stay in St. Louis and help my parents because my parents didn't speak English and I was their voice. So luckily for me, St. Louis has a lot of good education options, and I was able to attend a college that would provide me with the education that I wanted to get. Shortly after graduating with a bachelor's degree, I got married. And then both my wife and I went to get our graduate degrees. She went to follow her passion and attend education, specialize for the master's degree in the ELL, and I went to get my master's degree in architecture. We both graduated in 2013, and she went to become an ELL specialist at the local school district, and I went to become a licensed architect in 2015. We were evolving, we were growing. In 2016, we welcomed our first daughter. With a lot of hard work, dedication, I was asked to become a partner at the Fox Architects, who I was working for at the time. Around the time, my wife and I welcomed the second daughter. Life was good, but the feeling of being given back to the community was getting stronger. Both my wife and I would volunteer at different organizations, but I also always chose International Institute since that was the organizations that welcomed me in the first time. In 2019, I joined the board of directors for International Institute, and I'm proud to serve the community. Right now, I'm standing in front of you as a citizen of the United States who's proud to call St. Louis home. I'm standing in front of you as a caring son, loving husband, and a father. I'm standing in front of you as a local business owner, as a neighbor, and a productive member of society. Next time, when you hear the word refugee, I ask you to think of me and my family, and I ask you to think of the human behind the refugee label. Thank you.
All right, we've got about 5 minutes for questions. Please let us know who you want to speak to when you're asking your question. Thank you.
Anybody with the International Institute? Yeah. Just curious, so just step up to your mic. So what are all you guys doing to get ready? Is anybody preparing apartments, working on housing?
Well, thank you for bringing up that question, because more than just arrivals is a host of other things that we do in order to help those who make it here to resettle. First thing is that, conscious of the fact that we're going to have new arrivals, we've been ramping up capacity. Actually, we just hired a new housing specialist who is doing an inventory on housing. Our teams, our staff is stretched now, ensuring that we have people at the airport picking up arrivals, setting up the housing, so we have people actually go in, set up the housing, put in furniture, ensure that it is safe for people to live in. There are several things that we do once people get here, which includes an assessment of where they are in terms of skill sets, language, health, and based on that assessment, we determine what programs we have here that they qualify for. So,
It's a tough real estate rental market right now. I mean, do you have enough housing?
there's never going to be enough housing in the current situation. It's a challenge. We are working with stakeholders and looking at Greater St. Louis Inc. that we've had conversations on, looking at the staff here that's having ongoing conversations with identifying affordable housing for those who will be arriving. But we would have to get creative as a community to be able to respond to the needs in terms of affordable housing. Let me qualify that.
So where do you find this housing? Do you put anybody in hotels? Are you looking for vacant units that somebody could help pay for? Give us some more details about where you put
There are a few things that have been happening as we've gone along. Most of the arrivals that we've seen for specifically the Afghan population has been with those who already have ties within the community first. So those who have ties within the community would go to relatives or friends that they have in the community, but that's just temporary. So whilst they go there, we still have to find housing for them. If they do not have ties, and we usually get 48, if we're lucky, 12 hours notice of these arrivals, we'll have to put them in a hotel whilst we set up this housing.
Do you know how many you're expecting at this point?
We cannot know specifically what number. We've been working on a capacity of 1,000, but it could be less, it could be more.
Well, I've always said that St. Louis should be a place where anyone can succeed regardless of their skin color, who they love, or how they worship. And St. Louis has always been a welcoming community, as witnessed when we welcomed Bosnian refugees here in the 1990s. And so I jumped at the opportunity to welcome more citizens to our city. What kind of support can the city offer? Well, we're going to lean on our experts at the International Institute to let us know what they need. Also, the Biden administration has earmarked about $500 million for cities that do accept refugees. So we'll be working with our federal representatives as well.
Got time for one more. Got a question for Jason Paul. First, you could outline what will be done in terms of getting jobs for refugees.
That's a great question. Is Ario Benson and our partner at the International Institute, as you can imagine, when people are coming to this country for the first time, trauma, understanding skills, language, there is a robust assessment process and matching process. I can tell you we've already had members of our business community stepping up and saying, we're ready to be a part of the housing solution, we're ready to be a part of the job solution. And as I outlined in my comments, one of the things this community has done, I think almost better than any other city or region in this country over the last 20 years, is build one of the best startup support systems in this country. And that's why St. Louis is being known as Startup City. That system as well will be working with these refugees, because again, we know a foreign-born is 60% more likely to start a business. It may be a restaurant, it may be the next high-tech blockbuster, but we have that kind of support system to work with them. So what we need to do, though, and I think why the business community's been clear, we have to channel that support in an organized way to the International Institute. They do this work every day, and they're some of the best in the country that do it. What is extraordinary about this is the scale and the rapidly evolving nature of it. So in those kinds of situations and in that time, we need to channel those resources as a community in ways that make it easier for the International Institute to do its job. And that's what we're prepared and are already doing, and those lines of communication and action are open.